Hi, in this video I'll be demonstrating how to replace your heat control valve on a BMW. This is an N62, it happens to be an E65 BMW. The heat control valve is here by bank 2 of this V8 engine. Here is the replacement, and as you can see we'll need to fit 3 pipes onto this valve. This is actually 2 solenoids which open and close depending on how you've set your thermostat inside your cabin. It does have a connection here for a plug. Now on this vehicle, it's easier to change this if you can just remove this out of the way. It's very simple. All it is 2 nuts over here, size 10. And that just allows me to remove the power steering reservoir in order to get some space over here. There we go. Right, so that's now pushed to the side. A tip here, make sure this lid is tight and don't let this turn upside down, otherwise the power steering fluid tends to leak out. Right, now I've got more access here, and you'll see that this is actually not fastened. It's quite loose. You see it can just come out like that, so you can actually maneuver this in your hand. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this plug here. Right, so I just depress the tab there and remove this wire. Right, so on this car it's got clamps there, you can see, so I just need to loosen them. And as you can see, some antifreeze is pouring out. Now I just pull the pipe to the side and I remove this clamp. And now I've got 2 more clamps at the back there. Please, when you do this repair, make sure the car is cold. As you can see, mine is a little bit warm and that antifreeze is a bit warm. That is partly why there is a bit of pressure buildup here as well. Right, note the orientation of the pipes. You can see there's one on the top and one on the bottom, and this one is, which is obvious. Okay, there's the top one. Right, there is the old part with the part number, and I replaced mine with a generic, and that is the part number for the generic. Right, I'm going to fit the bottom hose first. I'll put the clamp on, and what I suggest you do is when you do put the clamp on, make sure the screw side is facing there, otherwise you won't be able to tighten it. While you're here, just inspect the pipes for any tears. Now lastly, the front pipe. Right, reseat it back into its position. Right, I just spray some contact cleaner onto the connector here and just plug that back in. Right, now I'm just going to refit my power steering reservoir. Now because air got into the system, we have to top this up and actually run this engine. Right, the level has gone down a bit because I lost a bit of water when I was changing those pipes. Alright, you just need to top up your water reservoir with 50% antifreeze and 50% distilled water. Right, now in this particular car, the process is very specific. Start your car with this open, let it run for about 10 minutes until this gets quite warm. Then you're going to close this. Make sure that while you're doing this bleeding, you have the heater inside the car set to full. The purpose of this process is to get out any trapped air, but also remember that we've just changed the heat control valve. We want no air on that side of the water circuit. That means that the heater inside the car must be set to maximum to open that solenoid which you've just installed, to allow water to circulate around that circuit. Right, once you've let the car idle for about 10 to 15 minutes, you can close the reservoir tank lid. Yeah, closing the cap. And now let the engine run for another 10 minutes. Inspect your work, check that there's no leaks at the pipes which have just been refitted. Alright, so inside the cabin you can see that my temperatures were set to 32, the maximum during this whole process, and you should be able to feel very warm air coming out of these vents, and that's exactly what I'm feeling. That heat control valve is now working. You can put this back to your normal temperature that you're comfortable with. Right, now I never open this while this is still hot, and it remains hot for a good half an hour afterwards. So what you want to do is go for a drive in the morning, recheck the level. Then if it needs to be topped up, top it up, close it. Do this for 2 or 3 trips, specifically if it's a long trip, and that way you'll get all the air out of your system. At times, open the heat control valve by putting the temperature in your vehicle at the maximum and then closing it, just to allow water to circulate through that additional circuit. All right, thanks for watching and cheers.